right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Detroit Sports Podcast, episode number 30, the DocNJock Sports Talk program. I am the Doc, John Macaroon, and joining me is a man that came in a little bit late today. I don't know if he's gotten all Hollywood on us since he was on the radio. My cousin, my favorite cousin, still nursing his hernia injury, but he's doing a good job. He's being a trooper, ready to bring the pain, ready to bring his passion. My cousin, Adam Straczynski. What's up, cuz?
It was my mom's fault. She needed me to help her around the house today. My stepdad just had surgery. In the Straczynski-Dombrowski household, we're a bunch of weekend warriors, and usually what ends up happening is we are the weekend wounded, so he had to have his Achilles tendon cut today. So he was limping around the house, so my mom needed me to help her out today, and that's what I was doing. So sorry I got here a little bit late, but we're here, so let's get this going. Let's kick this bad boy off.
Well, first, before we kick it off, we got to take care of some business. Tennis fans out there, next week from the 12th through the 16th, there's going to be a great mixed doubles tennis tournament out there at the Grosse Pointe Hunt Club. Great mixed doubles action. It's a professional tournament. It's a tournament that's being brought back. It's a very classic tournament, the Midwest Tennis Championship. You can go to MidwestOpenChampionships.com. Get all your information on the tournament. It's going to be great. You got top 250 ranked players in the field. They're going to men and women will pair up, and they're going to play against each other for a share of a $10,000 pool, and I think first prize is $4,000. Great tennis action for very inexpensive price out there at the Grosse Pointe Hunt Club. So check it out. Don't miss it. And I think Doc and Jock will make an appearance. The Detroit Sports Podcast is a sponsor of the tennis tournament. We're very happy to be affiliated with them, and hopefully it's the beginning of a long-lasting sponsorship if they keep doing it. But visit MidwestOpenChampionships.com for information, and don't miss out. Now, Saturday, the Doc and Jock made their radio debut on 92.7 FM. I think it was a great experience overall. I felt like the topics were great. How did it go for you? I thought it was a positive experience for us. We got a chance to debate sports topics. We got a chance to see different studio and things like that. But I felt like I held my own, and everyone got a chance to share their opinions and things like that. What was your take on it?
You did a good job. It's hard when it's 3, maybe 4 or 5 on 1, and at certain points that's what it was. So you did a good job. I thought you did a good job. It just goes to show that you have a minority opinion. So that being said, it doesn't make your opinion any less. It just, in a room like that, it's not going to carry as much weight. I had a great time. I thought it was a lot of fun. You know what? I really liked working with all those guys and girls. I thought it was great. It was cool to see those people. A lot of those people I've met before. So it was cool to work with them again. It was cool to talk with them and see them again. I thought it was great. I have nothing but great things to say. I'm really glad Nate reached out to both of us, let us do that with him, made us a part of that. So hopefully we can work with those guys going forward and in the future, and hopefully good things come of that. Hopefully it's a good marriage. I liked it.
I enjoyed it too. I enjoyed it very much. It was there. It was a good challenge. I kind of liked it. I just wish, like I said, I could have made more points, and wish we could have done it for 2 or 3 hours. I think it could have gone off 2 or 3 hour show. But we want to thank Nate for inviting us. The Doc and Jock always love getting a chance to debate sports topics and sharing our opinions. And I love the show. I thought the show was great, and I'm everyone that's listened to it on our end has said that it was really good and really entertaining, and it was a good show. So you ready to kick this bad boy off?
I can't wait. I'm ready to punt this like it's football.
All right, here we go. On this episode, we're going to talk about the Tigers. Some recent news with Andy Dirks. We're going to get into that, the impact of losing a player like Andy Dirks. And we're going to start comparing the 2014 team to last year's team, and have some banter regarding the Tigers now in spring training, playing a few games. We've gotten to see what they've looked like, and it's very interesting. I've been entertained this spring training. We're going to hit on the Lions quickly, too. We're going to get a chance to talk about, what we feel like their needs are. We're going to have a chance to look at the top 2 cornerbacks, I believe, arguably in the NFL draft, Darqueze Dennard or Justin Gilbert. And likely the Lions are going to take Gilbert if he's available. But Adam and I are going to debate whether who we feel like the best fit for the Lions at the number 10 pick. We are going to play a round of Jock Jams. The Doc has questions lined up for the Jock, and he's always ready to deliver great sports insight, great passionate opinions in the segment we call Jock Jams. And finally, to end the show, we are closer to opening day. So Adam and I are going to share some of our stories from opening day, and I'm sure he has some great ones. I am new to the experience, so I can share my very few experiences with opening day, and we're going to get a chance to talk about, there has been a movement to add one more national holiday, whether it be for opening day or for the Super Bowl. And we're going to talk about which day do we want to have a national holiday, whether it be the day after the Super Bowl or opening day for baseball? Now, for those of you that like the Jock, getting all angry and Jock slams, we're going to put that to bed for a couple weeks because, baseball is coming around and spring training is hot and heavy. So we're going to put Jock slams to rest for a couple weeks. And if anything comes up that pisses the Jock off, don't worry. He will come back and return and let it rip. But we're going to continue to share stories about opening day and share the memories and hopefully make new ones. March 31st.
For sure. We're just going to take a walk down memory lane there, a little Doc and Jock, just kind of walking hand in hand, telling our best and most interesting stories from opening day. I think that'll be a nice little caveat for the next, 4 weeks or so, or about 4 weeks out from opening day. I think that'll be nice.
All right. So news came out, Andy Dirks, back problems, surgery. He's going to be out probably till the beginning to the middle of May. It's kind of a concerning injury in that, he was going to be the starting left fielder. And, a lot of people have said, maybe that position was going to be platooned with a bunch of other players, with Rajah Davis and other players that they've brought in. But on a scale of 1 to 10, in your opinion, how big is the Andy Dirks injury to start off the season?
I think it's about an 8. And I might be overreacting a little bit. But you don't have another left fielder on this roster. You don't have anybody else. I mean, you've got Rajah Davis, but he has trouble swinging a bat. So who are you going to put out there? You don't really have anybody. You got to go pick up one of the kids. And I think Brad Osmus, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, or it could have been sometime earlier this week. I'm not really sure. But he's come out and he basically said, don't look at Fields to be the guy that we're going to put in there. They have 2 other guys in 2 other minor league systems that they want to bring out. They want to try first. So you don't even know what you're going to get. It's kind of a question mark in left field right now. I wasn't really high on the Rajah Davis pick when they went out and they got him in free agency. I didn't really like that. When we traded Fister, we didn't really get anything back in return that I was like, whoa, this is going to be great. This person's going to fill a need. We don't have anybody that you can really move over to play that left field spot and to give you enough power with a baseball bat to move runs around and get runs in. So I think this is a big issue. I think this is going to hurt them going forward. And the worst part is, this is like a 3-month injury. This isn't one of those things where he's like, I just kind of, tweaked it a little bit. I'm going to be laid up for about a week. No, he's going to be laid up for about 12 weeks. And then you got to remember, he's going through spring training right now. So he's got 12 weeks off. He's trying to get in condition, trying to get back in health to play baseball. So you got 12 weeks off. Now you sit there and you add another, 2, 3, 4 maybe weeks for him to get back into shape. And then he's going to have to sit there and play himself into baseball shape. So this isn't just a 12-week issue. This could be, a 3-month, 4-month, maybe even approaching a 5-month issue. At that point, you're already 3 months into the season and you've played at least a quarter of your games. So I think this is going to be a big issue. I think this is going to be a big lingering issue. And I think you kind of see what Dave Dombrowski did this offseason. I think he did a really poor job. I wasn't really blown away with anything he did this offseason. And I think that is going to have a trickle-down effect for this team and for this roster going forward. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about it when we start comparing the 2013 team to the 2014 team. But I think this right here, you kind of see, this is kind of a microcosm of what happened this offseason.
And now the primary replacement is going to be Rajah Davis. And unfortunately for a guy like that, he is not an everyday player, and he bats horrifically against right-handed batters. And so a guy that's going to be inserted into that lineup needs to be able to bat consistently, and his batting average versus right-handers is pretty terrible. So he's not going to be a consistent everyday left fielder. Donnie Kelly, baby, he's always an option. And you know what? But he was a darling for Jim Leyland. He is always a player that's very versatile, and he could fill a hole too. And also, too, don't forget, we got Steve Lombardozzi, also a versatile player that can play a lot of positions. He hasn't played too many games in the outfield, and he's going to be likely used as the primary backup at shortstop. But obviously now we're going to have to platoon that position. The outfield consists of Austin Jackson in center field, and now you got Torrey Hunter in right field. And so now this position, who do you think is going to lock it up? We signed a young player in Daniel Fields, but I don't think he's an everyday player yet. I think he's going to start the season in the minors, and I just think that he needs another season to get kind of seasoned and things like that. They may bring him up, try him out, but I think it's either going to be a combination of Rajah Davis, Don Kelly, and Daniel Fields, and let the best player earn that position.
I think you named everybody that they have. And give you a little bit of background on Daniel Field and talk a little bit about Rajah Davis versus right-handed hitting. Daniel Field was a very high prospect in the Tiger organization up until about last year, where he basically fell off the face of the earth. He had a very up and down season last year. All of a sudden this year, he's kind of turned it on, and he's looked decent in spring training. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate over to the big leagues. Spring training, all these guys are trying to get their mechanics right, trying to get their bodies back in shape, and a lot of times you're playing against either 4A, AAA, sometimes even AA players, so it's not a really good test to see what you're going to have. Rajai Davis against right-handed hitting, just to kind of drive home the point that you just said, his career split versus right-handed pitching is a 0.255 batting average, which is horrible. That's awful. That means you're basically, for every time you go up there to hit the ball, he's going to get maybe 2 hits out of 10. That's not good. You're not doing anything there. And I don't really like Don Kelly. I know every now and then Don Kelly comes up with a big hit, but Don Kelly is a platoon player. He's good to have as a guy that you can put at first, a guy that you can put at third, a guy that you can put in the outfield now and again. You want to sit there and you maybe want to play Don Kelly once every 5 days. Rajai Davis is some guy that you would play maybe 2 out of every 5 days. So now you've got 3 out of 5 days taken care of. Is Daniel Field going to be that answer 2 out of 5 days? Who knows? You have no idea. It's nothing but question marks. There's nobody on this team, because Steve Lombardozzi doesn't do it for me in left field. There's nobody on this team who you can sit there and you can put out there and you're like, yeah, this guy's going to be great. This is going to work out okay. It's basically we're going to put a Band-Aid on it, and that cut's going to heal up as soon as Dirks is better and he can come back. What if Dirks runs into a complication with his back? What if there's a bigger issue? What if he doesn't get healthy right away? So then what are you going to do? Now this basically a cut has now become a bullet wound. How are you going to put a Band-Aid on that?
I think if there are complications and if Rajai Davis does not perform, I think then the Tigers could make a trade.
But 40 games into the season?
You know what? By that time, maybe some clubs might be willing to sell. Or the name that comes to mind for me is Carlos Quentin. He's in San Diego, and he is, often injured, but he could come in here and maybe fill a role if the Padres are willing to trade him. But right now there are some free agents out there that they're unsigned. You got like Jason Bay, Juan Pierre, Rick Ankiel. So there's like a Class B players out there that we could sign. But I think all indications are that Rajai Davis will get probably a significant portion of those starts.
Oh, he's
going to get a chance. He's the guy.
He's the guy.
And so
that's what you brought him in here for. You brought him in here to platoon with Dirks.
And you know what?
So he's going to get the shot.
And cuz you know what stinks? You know what I hate? I hate situations where we make a move and then it bites us like almost immediately. Mm-hmm. We let go of Johnny Peralta. A lot of controversy with that. He's
looked good during spring training as well.
Exactly. But he used performance-enhancing drugs. They felt like they could let him go in cost-cutting moves. And look at that. His first game against us, 2 home runs. Mm-hmm. And now Andy Dirks is gone. We could have had Peralta out there. Boom. He's obviously a better player than Dirks or basically any of the players that we have in left field. And so I hate situations where we make moves and it bites us almost immediately. Not even 10 games into spring training, and we're now worrying about a significant position in the outfield.
Yep. Let's start doing a little bit of compare and contrast here. So left field last year, would you say it was better last year than this year? And you got to count the Andy Dirks. This is kind of what I want to do. I want to go plus or minus here. 2013, is that a plus? 2014, is that a minus for left field? What do you think?
I think now that Dirks is gone and Rajai Davis is obviously a minus. I think they could have re-signed Peralta and they could have maintained the level of consistency they had. So this year, minus.
Center field, about the same?
I think this year's plus. I really feel like Austin Jackson, from the talk we had last week, he's going to be playing he's going to be playing lower. He's going to be batting lower in the lineup, and I think he's going to finally come around with less pressure. So I think his production will be up this season. So I think his performance this season will be better than last season with all that pressure he had. He was kind of pressing at the top of the lineup. So this season I say plus.
I agree with you. Right field, Torrey Hunter.
Torrey Hunter, I think you know what you get with Torrey Hunter. I don't think he's going to fall off. I think he's a glue guy. I think that he's going to obviously get key hits in key situations. I think he's a leader on that team. And so I believe that you know what you're going to get with him. It's going to be the same performance.
The only thing that worries me is another year on those legs and on that body. But he looked good during the playoffs. He looked okay. So it's just another year. First base, I think we both agree that's definite pluses. I think you have a better fielding first baseman. I think you've got a better hitting first baseman. I think everything about the first base position is better.
Exactly. And with Miguel Cabrera now, there's less risk of injury. Prince Fielder all last season, you saw how he did. He's not having the pressure to, move laterally left or right, and that's the most important thing. Keep Miguel Cabrera healthy, especially if you're going to unload a massive contract. He's got to be on the field. He can't be having any significant groin injuries or things like that later on in his career.
Second base, Ian Kinsler. Do you like that?
You know what? I thought about that. I don't think that move is a significantly better move than Omar Infante. And so you let him go to Kansas City. He signed a free agent deal with Kansas City. And then you got a guy that's making a lot of money. And if he was performing well, you kind of see trends in his performance the last few seasons where his numbers have kind of gone down. Mm-hmm. And so basically the Rangers traded their guy that was slumping versus our guy that was slumping. And I don't think that move at shortstop is a significant upgrade. It's just going to be maybe a situation where a new environment for Ian Kinsler may help him out, a change in scenery. But I just don't think right now that it's a much better move. It's either equal or just it's a downgrade in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a lateral move there. Unless Ian Kinsler comes back and he shows signs of that all-star caliber performance that he can have.
Is his salary $16 million?
I believe so. If you want, I can double check that here in a minute.
Yeah, double check, but I think that's just a big number.
What about, how do you feel about Jose Iglesias? I think that's a definite plus, especially defensively. I know as far as hitting and power goes, he doesn't have the same bat that Johnny Peralta has, but defensively, I think he is good to take at least one run away every game, and he will do amazing things with the leather. I just need him to hit consistently, and I need him to get on base, and that's all I really want from that guy.
I'm so looking forward to this season, his second season. I mean, for a rookie season to hit 300, he showed signs of greatness, and I think he could be a potential long-term player for the Tigers, a cornerstone player. If he can get his bat, maybe get up there, maybe 310, 320, and be a little bit more consistent, then I think this trade was amazing. You know, what a great trade that Dave Dombrowski made last year. And when Johnny Peralta got suspended, you made a move for a rookie there with Boston, the eventual World Series champion, and you brought in a guy that can flash the leather, has range, and can probably do some things, with his bat with more development. I think that another season under his belt, he's gonna, with the spring training under his belt with the Tigers, I just see big things for him, and I'm so looking forward to watching him play. That's a significant upgrade.
Yeah, Ian Kinsler's contract, it's right around $13 million a season. That's a lot of money.
Okay, $13 million.
When you could have had Omar Infante for a lot less.
Exactly.
So, but like you said, it was to alleviate the fielder hit. So
exactly.
Third base, new guy, young talent, been talked about a lot. He is basically the prize of the Tigers' developmental system, and that's Nick Castellanos. Guy's got a bat. Guy can hit the ball. The guy can field. I think he's got a little bit more range than Cabrera. I'm not expecting him to light the world on fire with his fielding, though. I think he will be an upgrade over Cabrera, especially in the field. As far as the bat goes at third, I don't think he's going to do what Cabrera does. Not many guys can do what Cabrera does. I need him to be consistent when he comes up to bat. I need him to put the ball in play. I don't need him to sit there, and I don't need him to hit 330 with 25 home runs, but I do need him to hit right around 295, maybe 12 to 18 home runs, maybe 80 RBIs. That'd be nice.
On my end, I've only focused really only on his offensive stats. Is he a good third baseman? I know that there's some talk maybe he could have played a different position, but I haven't really focused at all on his defensive prowess. But I understand, like I said, this gentleman has been named in all the big trades that have been offered to the Tigers. Everybody in the league wants him. So that means that for them not to trade him, they hold him to be, they're going to give him a chance to play this season. Whether he has, struggles his first year, we don't know. But I really think that he's going to perform well. I think now he's not one of those players that buys into the hype that's not going to work. I think that he's going to come in and perform right away. I think that a guy like that's been coveted by almost every team in the league is going to perform. And I think that he's going to be given all the tools necessary and all the support needed this season to make a significant run at being maybe Rookie of the Year. I think that he's got the talent, he's got the drive, and now, it's time. And I'm just hoping, the biggest thing is this. You could have had a lot of good players for Nick Castellanos. All the trade rumors that came about, everybody wanted Nick Castellanos, and every deal offered, and we didn't take it. And so now it's time for him to, assimilate into the lineup and be that guy that can help alleviate the pressure for Miguel Cabrera. Because we're still, the biggest difference from this year to last year is the offense. I think they significantly improved the defense, but now the question is going to be, how are we going to perform offensively, and who's going to protect Miguel Cabrera? And Nick Castellanos, Austin Jackson have to be those players that get in consistent hits. Otherwise, it can go south real quick with this offense. I mean, we don't want to watch our pitchers go 7-8 innings, give up one run, and lose 2-1 every game. I would be livid if that happened start the season.
Defensively, I think he's a plus over Cabrera, only because I think Cabrera was par. If you were to sit there and you were to go amongst all 30 third basemen in Major League Baseball, I think Cabrera would be somewhere right around in the middle. So I think he's a plus compared to that. I don't think he's going to light the world on fire with his fielding. I think, if you're looking for something like you're going to get out of Jose Iglesias, I don't think you're going to get that. But I think he'll be a better fielder than Cabrera. His real talent and the thing that kept him here and why the Tigers didn't want to get rid of him was because of his bat. When he gets hot, he's hot. There were times last year where he was hitting 450 in the minors, just booming the ball everywhere. He won the Future League's MVP trophy. So the kid's got talent. He's good. He's got to prove it now. It's time for the next level. It's time for him to take that big step forward. My hope is that they didn't rush him up here because they needed to. They were looking to get him to play left field because they wanted him on the roster and being able to play with Cabrera. With Prince Fielder moving, on to Texas, you move Cabrera over to first. That now opens up third, and now you can play him at his natural position, which was third base. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of translates and how this works out. Catcher. How do you feel about catcher? I've got some strong opinions on catcher.
Okay, it's going to be Alex Avila and a little bit of Victor Martinez, maybe playing a little bit more. I like Alex Avila. I think that the big concern now with Alex Avila that worries me is his injuries.
You just hit it right on the head.
Exactly. Now he's one ding in, literally. I remember last season we on our Twitter page we'd say, okay, if Alex Avila got clunked in the head, take a shot, and he gets hit a lot in the head, with these pitches, a lot of foul balls in the mask, and I'm worried about him. If he stays healthy, he's got a strong bat and has had a lot of clutch hits, and we need that left-handed bat in the lineup, and so I'm worried about him too. I'm very concerned, but I think that he's got to start looking into maybe wearing the more conservative mask. I know he wears the mask where he wears the helmet with the catcher's mask over it. Mm-hmm. I think he's got to transition to those goalie-type masks and make sure he protects himself, because you don't want to be dealing with concussion problems the rest of your life in after retirement too. So, but he's got a strong left-handed bat. He's very, very clutch, and he's a gamer. But I just think that his play back there, is going to leave us worried a lot.
At catcher, you're right. Alex Avila is the guy. And if Alex Avila is on, it's great. Everything's going well. There are times, though, where Alex Avila slumps, he just can't hit the broadside of a barn. And there are times where he just looks like he's struggling and fighting it up there. On top of it, he's often injured. I don't think this guy has played a healthy season in the last 4 or 5.
What the hell is that about?
So you sit there, you don't bring back Brian Pena, who played 71 games last year, hit .297. Catcher is usually a position where you can tank the offense. Brian Pena brought you something because he was a good defensive catcher. He didn't throw a lot of guys out, but he was a decent defensive catcher. He'd knock the ball down and keep it in front of him. And he hit almost 300, which is unheard of. And you said, you know what? Thanks, we don't need you. Thanks, but no thanks.
Don't you think the combination of Halladay and Victor Martinez kind of...
I don't like Victor Martinez playing behind the plate.
You don't want to play at all?
No, I don't like it at all. He's up in age. He's already coming off a blown-out knee. So now you want to put more stress on that knee by having him behind the plate, possibly, having a collision-type incident at the plate. I don't like it. You need Victor Martinez to be as healthy as possible, because that's the only protection you got for Cabrera. And we'll talk about that when we talk about the batting lineup. So I don't like Martinez playing back there behind the plate. I mean, Halladay, you don't really know what you're going to get with the guy. I mean, this will be his first major stint in the big leagues. And, he's come up every now and then just to kind of fill in. But this will be his first time, really getting a lot of playing time. And like we said, Brian Pena played 71 games last year. For a backup, that's a ton. That's a lot. Usually backups only see 30, 40, maybe 50 games, if the catcher really needs a rest. So that's a lot of games. 71's crazy. And to sit there and bat almost 300 on a position where you don't expect a lot of offense just doesn't make sense. I don't know why they didn't bring him back, and I don't really know what they're doing. I think they really downgraded in that position.
Don't discount the fact that Brett Ausmus was a catcher, and this will be a chance to see his imprint on a catcher his first season. So I know you're a little bit concerned. I'm not as concerned. I just think that I think Halladay wouldn't be here if they didn't feel that he could at least fill the role. Understand? He's not going to be expected to be the everyday catcher. And so, the backup is what you need. If you get I think the average backup plays between 30 and 40 games. The the catcher will play the day game after a night game and things like that. And actually, Alex Avila may benefit from maybe more rest and maybe a similar situation where let the backup play 50 games this year. I respect your concern, but I'm not as concerned with the catching position as I am with, obviously, the starting pitching and the bullpen. Now, obviously, the big difference is we have a closer now that we can say, okay, that's the guy, Joe Nathan. I think the bullpen is shaping up. The big question is this, though. You still got Phil Koch. You still got Al Albuquerque. You still have some ties to last year's team that epically flamed out. So Phil Koch is still on the team. I'm not sure why. You don't really have too many left-handed relievers out there that can get outs besides Phil Koch. So that's going to be a concern. And then the big question is this: can Rondon, step up this season and be the guy? So that's going to be interesting to see how this bullpen does, because that was a significant weakness for them last postseason. So my biggest area of concern is the bullpen, and now this issue with Andy Dirks. But I'm really still confident that this year's team will be a competitive team, just probably not a World Series team.
I feel okay with the starting lineup. I think the starting rotation is good. I don't like that Pfister was moved. I've said that numerous times. I would have liked to have seen Porcello gone. That being said, I'm okay with Smiley. I think we needed that lefty arm in the rotation. I think that's great, because having 5 righties is almost silly. You need to break it up every now and then with the lefty. So I think that's great. My major concern is the bullpen. What do we have in the bullpen? Who's going to be our 7th inning guy? Can Rondon, because he's already been tagged as the 8th inning guy, can he handle the pressure of being the 8th inning guy? You see what happened when they brought him up last year. He basically imploded on the mound. So the Rondon zone was coined, and basically that meant they were stroking home runs off of him. I do like that we have Joe Nathan. My hope is that he just doesn't get old before our eyes. That's my major concern, because he's an older pitcher. I'm hoping that he can come in and he can sit there and be as good as he was, if not better than last year, because that's what we're paying him for. So it's just what's going to happen with the rest of this bullpen. How is the rest of this bullpen going to shape up? They didn't really go out and they didn't really get anybody to plug into that bullpen that made it like, ooh, that's so much better. You don't really know what you got. You got a couple pieces that you had last year, and they were just kind of extra bits and extra parts. And like you said, a lot of the guys flamed out. So what do we have going forward? So bullpen's got a ton of question marks. I'm really uneasy with the bullpen. Starting rotation, I'm okay with and I can deal with. As far as power coming from these bats, I just don't see it. We gave up a ton of home run power with Peralta. He gave up an average of 107 RBIs with Fielder, and you provided no protection for Cabrera. I mean, you've got Martinez. If Martinez is healthy and Martinez is going to hit like he hit later in the half of the season last year, but who knows if that's going to happen. You got to remember, he's up there in age. He's an older player, and he's coming back off of a bad knee. So what are you going to get there? And you said that he might be playing a little bit of catcher, which I just think that's ill-advised. I mean, if that's what they want to do and that's what they have to do, and I think he has gone to management and he said to management, if you guys need me to do this, I will do this. That's no problem. I have no problem going out there, and I have no problem playing catcher if you guys need me to sit there and you need me to back up Alex Avila. No problem. Because I know he reported with the pitchers and catchers and took all of his equipment down to Florida with him. So that's great. You're an awesome team player, but I need you to stay hot, and I need you to hit the ball, and I need you to swing the bat, and I need you to be good there. So don't get nicked up and don't get beat up. This lineup, it scares me, because we've been so used to boom or bust baseball. We've been so used to the 3-run homer getting us out of jams. I think defensively they're better, but offensively I think they've taken a step back.
And I think it's great that we get to play a divisional team opening weekend. We play Kansas City. Mm-hmm. So we right away a test, because Kansas City has gotten better steadily. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think they're going to contend yet. I think the team you got to worry about the most is the team in Cleveland. And I think that they are going to be a consistent threat throughout the season. And those games are going to be great. Hopefully they play a lot of meaningful games in September. And so it's going to be great. I love talking Tigers baseball. I love the whole game of baseball, everything about it. And it's going to be great to watch them this season and do this podcast week after week to follow them during the spring and summer. Hopefully, if summer ever gets here. I mean, could you imagine opening day game March 31st and it's freaking snowing?
I just hope we get some warm weather.
Yes, please, warm weather.
I don't mind if it rains a little bit. I don't mind if it's a little bit nippy out, but just give us some sunshine and just give us just some decent weather for about 4 hours, maybe 4.5 hours. That's all we really need.
And now, Cuz, before we start talking about the Lions, I think the over-under in Vegas was 89.5 wins, I believe.
89.5, yep.
89.5. What do you think? Over-under?
I'm going to go over, and I think it's going to be just over. I think your blog, I think you said 91.
I said 91 wins.
Yeah, I'm going to put them somewhere right around there, right around 91, maybe 92. I think their offense is going to be a little bit down this year, but I think that defense will help pick it up a little bit.
So guys, listen out there. If Doc and Jock say over, that means definitely lay your money on under.
They're scraping the bottom of the Central with 75 wins.
There you go. All right, cuz the Lions. Let's switch gears and talk about the Lions. Draft is coming up. We sent a delegation to Indianapolis. We got the 10th pick. There's been a list of players that we've interviewed. Now the next round is for them to watch the pro days, to go out to the different universities and watch these athletes perform in their home environment where I think they can do a better job. And so, real fast, before we start talking about the Lions, we were talking last week about how much you watch the combine and things like that. And some people have said, why is the combine on so much? What can we do maybe to switch it up? So the thought that I had that just popped into my mind, and maybe I'll get your quick take on it, is each team should have their own combine. And I think that instead of maybe having, if they want to stretch it out, then each team maybe can get, because there's no football now until September, right? August, I don't watch too much of the preseason. No football until September, right?
You got all this draft talk that's going to kind of fill everything in until May. So then you get May, you get the draft.
Exactly.
And
So now the combine is a week long, right?
Yes.
You watched all that over the weekend, right?
Yes.
Now imagine if I'm programming the NFL Network and you want to extend the combine, you could have each team have their own combine, invite 10 players, maybe 8 to 10 players, and have them work out with the players that are on their team. Imagine if Justin Gilbert could cover Calvin Johnson in a practice and we could watch it. Imagine that. Each team has their own combine, and you don't have to air each team. I mean, I'm not going to tune into Houston, but if you have the Patriots combine, you have the Lions combine, you have the San Francisco 49ers combine, I'd watch that. I think I would, if each team had their own players working out with the guys that are potentially going to be drafted, I think that would be a great revolutionary idea in terms of actually seeing the players play in real life situations versus NFL players. What do you think?
I think it's a really creative idea, and I think it'd be great for television programming. The only thing is it will never work because the NFL teams will not allow it, because basically you're sitting there tipping your hand for the draft, and you're tipping your hand for what you're looking for and what you're going to go after. And you got to remember, the draft, everything is held very tight to the best. It's a good idea, though.
Do you have any quick adjustments to my idea?
You can do that. It just couldn't be televised, and it'd have to be a closed session. So it'd just basically be you bringing players in and working players out, and that happens all the time in the NFL. It's a good idea, and it's pretty creative. It won't work because you're like I said, you're tipping your hand, and you know how it is in football.
Gotcha. All right, squash my dreams. But I just wanted to bring it to the table, bring out new ideas and things like that.
It's good. It's thinking outside the box. It's
That's
good.
right. I always want to think outside the box a little bit and change things up. And for a guy like you that watched all the combine, maybe there was a way for you to watch even more.
That's
more
true.
Workouts.
I love the combine.
See, there you go. Now, because the Lions obviously have a need at cornerback, and the likely scenario is they're going to draft either Darqueze Dennard or Justin Gilbert. If Martin Mayhew addresses the true needs of this team, obviously cornerback is the position that is going to be drafted. And so my opinion is Darqueze Dennard is a perfect fit at number 10. He is a true secondary player. Justin Gilbert was a quarterback, and so he's still learning the position. And so Darqueze Dennard, his strengths are toughness. He's got a lot of experience now playing in that defense at Michigan State. And when the key play needed to be made, he made it. And so there seems to be consensus that back and forth, either Justin Gilbert or Darqueze Dennard 1-2. My opinion is Darqueze Dennard is number 1. And here are my reasons. NFL Network draft analyst Mike Mayock kept Dennard atop his list of cornerbacks, even though Oklahoma State's Justin Gilbert ran a blazing 4.37 40 at the combine. Darqueze Dennard isn't slow. He ran 4.51, which Martin Mayhew said for a cornerback, you need to be around a 4.5. Okay, and you can't underestimate Darqueze Dennard's toughness. He's a guy that can cover number 1 receivers. He will not let receivers just blow by him. He has the ability to get the key picks in key situations, and I think that Darqueze Dennard is a prototype press corner. We obviously let go of Louis Delmas. They have high hopes for Darius Slay, but is he going to truly develop? That's the question. So I think bringing in a guy like Darqueze Dennard is an easy fit because, one, he's a hometown guy. So he's going to be comfortable in this environment. You're going to bring in a guy in Justin Gilbert. You don't know how he's going to respond coming to the Lions. I just think that Darqueze Dennard would be a great fit here, and I think that his experience at Michigan State, his toughness, the fact that he's a true press corner, and the fact that all the analysts that have looked at him have had nothing but high things to say about him. A lot of the analysts that even saw Justin Gilbert's blazing and great performance at the Combine still came away feeling like Darqueze Dennard is the number one corner. And so with that, if he's the number one corner and he's the best player, you got to take him.
All right, and this is why I think Justin Gilbert's much better. First off, let's just go with the physical. He's 6 foot. He's 202. He's got 33 and an eighth inch long arms. That's huge. Guy's wingspan's ridiculous. He runs a 4.3 740. That's blazing. Super fast. His vertical, 35 and a half inches. I mean, that guy's jumping out of a basketball court. Just going through the roof. Amazing. On top of it, he's stronger than Dennard. He put up 20 reps on the bench as opposed to Dennard, who put up 15. Also, he's big, he's fast, he's athletic. He's basically your prototypical man cover lockdown corner. The guy's got great hips. The guy, I mean, here's my combine coming into play here. He's got great hips. The guy can basically, he's white on rice when he's covering you. It's amazing. I mean, like you said, he's just learning the position. The guy has unbelievable talent. On top of it, we've talked about this in previous podcasts. We want athletes here. This guy's an athlete. He could be a dual threat if you wanted to do that. He could play as your number one cornerback, and you can also sit there. You could put him on the punt return, or you could put him on the kickoff if you wanted to. I think Gilbert, as much as I like Dennard, and a lot of what you said about Dennard is true, I think Gilbert has more upside, and I think he might be more ready to walk into a defense and start than Dennard. I think with Dennard, you got to teach him basically how to sit there, because like you said, he's a press cover. He likes to jam you at the line, which is great. But if you need him to fall back into coverage, he might get burned. I know he posted a 4.5 40, which is really nice, but 4.37, that's a lot better. That's a lot quicker. That allows, in case you do get burned, that's going to allow you a little bit more reaction time. On top of it, he's longer. Like I said, his arms are 33 and an eighth inch long, as opposed to Dennard, who's got a 30 and a quarter inch arm length. So you get burned, you slip, something bad happens, you got to now backtrack and you got to pick up space. Having longer arms gets in there to help you deflect that ball and knock it down. I think Gilbert is the way to go here, just based on all the tangibles, his size, his speed, his skill, his ability. Like I said, he's got better hips, so he can move around a little bit better. He looks a little bit more fluid. When Dennard's out there, Dennard likes to be up there. He likes to jam you at the line, hit you real hard, and he'll sit there and he'll recoil. He'll bounce off a few feet off you, and then he'll sit there and he'll stick with you. Whereas with Gilbert's sitting there, he's going to match up with you almost Deion Sanders-like. Going to line up with you, and he's just going to sit there and he's going to stay with you stride for stride, stride for stride, stride for stride, all the way down the line. And then once that ball goes, once he sees your eyes look up, he's turning and he's grabbing and he's going the other way with it for 6.
Okay, see, I disagree with you. I think that Darqueze Dennard is the most ready cornerback to play now, but Gilbert has the more upside later on in his career. And I'll just read you a quick opinion from Bucky Brooks, NFL.com's media analyst, who after the workout said, Dennard is, and I quote, Dennard is arguably the most polished and pro-ready, exhibiting sound technique, ball skills, and toughness. He excels at cutting off a receiver's release angles, making it tough for the quarterbacks to squeeze the ball into tight windows. While there are still concerns about Dennard's overall athleticism and top-end speed after a so-so combine workout, the fact that he is so solid in his play will prompt defensive coaches to fall in love with his game. End quote. With that said, I just think that the Lions need a player ready to step in now and shut down the other receivers. Because you have to remember, who's in this league? Who's in this division? You got great quarterbacks like Jay Cutler, Aaron Rodgers, who are not throwing to bums. You know, Brandon Marshall can abuse you and has got touches. Alshon Jeffrey's a future superstar. You got James Jones out there in Green Bay.
Jordy Nelson.
You got, Minnesota's wide receivers are no slouches either.
No.
So they have nobody throwing to them. Yeah, they got nobody throwing it to them, so that's a plus.
That is a plus.
But you always got to worry about, Adrian Peterson over there in Minnesota. For the Lions, I believe they need a ready player, and I think the best player ready to perform now is Darqueze Dennard.
I disagree just based on the physical attributes that Gilbert brings. That being said, I think if both these guys are there at number 10, I don't think they can go wrong either way. I think we'd both be really lucky to get both these guys and address a huge need, and by taking the best player available at that spot. So I think we both come out winners because we're both Lions fans here. I think Gilbert's the way to go if he's there. You think Dennard, I don't think we're wrong either way. I think they're both going to be really good pros. And I think out of this draft class, I think these two guys will be linked forever, almost like Sue and McCoy. So I think, they're linked. You always sit there and you kind of compare their stats, who was a better pick. And I think we agree that Sue was probably the better pick than Gerald McCoy, even though Gerald McCoy had a much better year this past season. But I think these two guys will be linked forever. And I think Gilbert's got it. You think Dennard's got it. I don't think we're wrong either way. If we can get one of these guys, I think that'll really help our defense out.
With that said, the Lions will probably make a trade and take Clowney, or we'll draft and do something off the board. So I think that this draft, we should hold it tight to the vest. We should get the best player at each position and address some needs. And I just think that maybe you don't focus so much on the offense. You kind of focus more of this draft on the defense. And let's finally get a team that we can maybe have a little bit more grit and toughness and make us more proud in the second half of the season.
Entering to free agency and headed towards the draft, what do you think the two biggest needs for this team are currently?
I think cornerback and linebacker is a position that we should definitely look to improve. I think the defensive line is set.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have some talent. You have talent on the defensive line. You have talent on the offensive line. I think Warford and Riley Reif did a great job. So the areas that you can improve are in the secondary and in the linebackers. Because how many times did Matt Forte, Adrian Peterson break off big runs? And so if you can have a dominant linebacker, one that comes in and can stuff the run and can actually get home and get the quarterback, then you're making the cornerbacks significantly better just like that. The Ravens had Ray Lewis, dominant linebacker. When's the last time the Lions had a dominant linebacker? Wasn't it, Chris Spielman? When can you say the Lions had a guy that you feared, that you say, okay, we're not running, we can't run? A guy that can also maybe be a little bit more versatile in the screen game, can tackle, things like that. A Brian Urlacher can have a long career, durable, and can put a staple on the defense. Because we have talent now on the offensive line, defensive line. I just think that it's time to look for that linebacker to instill fear in other teams.
We both agree corner is probably the number one need, and I think you addressed that in the draft. I think in free agency, though, we need a wide receiver. There's a list floating around there with like the top 10 free agent wide receivers. I think you can address a number 2 wide receiver in free agency. Go pick a guy up. You got to pair him with Calvin. The guy doesn't have to be, gangbusters fast. Doesn't have to be super tall. I would really like another long receiver, something similar to what they have going on in Chicago with Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall. But you just need somebody to pair with Calvin Johnson to alleviate some of that pressure, because we don't have another wide receiver. All you've got is Calvin, and then you got Chris Durham. And let's be honest, Chris Durham probably shouldn't be in the league, but he's on this team because we need a guy. So I think you address offensive needs such as a wide receiver in free agency, and I think you're right on. You go defense, 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 and I think you start that with cornerback, and I think those are the two pressing needs that they need right now.
Okay, is there a move that they could make that really upset you if they get backup running back, or is there something out there that you just could not tolerate?
In the draft or in free agency?
Either or.
I think in the draft, if they went out and they sat there and they drafted something offensive, I know we need a wide receiver, and I guess if Sammy Watkins is there, I could stomach it. But I really think this team needs to build and build for the future. I know that they say that they're in win now mode, but I think to win for the future, you need to build on the defensive end. So I think you go out, you address your corner, you address something in the secondary. I don't even care if you go out and you get Clinton Dix. I really like that name, by the way. Mm-hmm. So you go out, you get a guy like that. I'm okay with that even. I think corner would be the way to go, because you can go out and you can get a safety in free agency if you needed to. But I think if they sat there and they did something offensive, you sat there, you drafted a running back, you drafted some guy, some linebacker, not named, Khalil Mack. You go and you draft somebody who's just kind of just like, you're like, who? What? And you sit there and you waste that 10th overall pick. It would drive me insane. I might stop being a fan and stop caring.
All right, guys, mark it. Episode number 30. We had a Lions talk. Adam the Jock did not mention Brian Sanders. Mark it down.
The Sandman!
He didn't say it. He didn't mention it, but I'll mention it for him. He didn't say his man crush, Brian Sanders. Good job, cuz. I appreciate it. You expanding your horizons.
I got a lot of confidence in that guy.
Yeah, I know. You got a man crush on him. All right.
I do.
All right, so we got a lot of draft talk to cover in the next couple weeks, and I'm so excited. This is the best time of the year. Draft coverage, Lions intense coverage, and we have to, just to let you know, Matthew Stafford got cut a check for $17.5 million earlier this week.
He did. That's his bonus.
$17.5 million.
I think every show until the draft, I think we need to work in some type of a mock draft too. So maybe next week we'll sit there and we'll do our first mock draft on here.
Okay, well, sounds good. All right, stay tuned. After the break, we are going to play a round of Jock Jams. Stay tuned. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Detroit Sports Podcast. We want to thank everyone for your support out there. The best way you can support us is to visit our website at www.detroitsportspodcast.com. You can click through the banner links and bookmark them. You can subscribe via the PayPal for the low price of $1 a month. That helps keep our show on the air for free and helps to pay the internet costs to keep the podcast on the internet and to pay for our website. So thank you out there for those that have contributed, and for those of you who are going to our website, you can get sports gear, sports memorabilia, sports tickets, everything related to Detroit sports. You can get it on our website. Many have called one of the best websites in the area, www.detroitsportspodcast.com. All right, Jock, you ready for a round of Jock Jams?
Yep. Strap on my hockey helmet here. Make sure my visor's nice and clean. Put my mouth guard in. I'm ready to go.
All right, start with the NBA. Earlier this week, Mark Cuban had said that maybe these players coming out doing the one and done thing is not really great for either the athlete or the NBA, and he said that maybe the NBA D League is a better place for these one and done players to go. Larry Brown came out today and strongly disagreed with him. Said that's probably the stupidest thing, the stupidest idea he's heard, and that they don't teach life skills in the D League, and where do you get that experience? And he vehemently disagrees. A lot of opinions have been both ways. What is your take on the one-and-done players? Should they go to the D League, or should they just stay in college?
I think they should just stay in college. I think they should put some type of a 2-year stipulation on it. If you don't come straight out of high school, I think you should have to stay in college for at least 2 years.
So you think college is the greatest minor league system as opposed to the D League?
You know what? I think not necessarily the minor league system. I just think it does more for them talent-wise. Because how many great players do you hear that come out of the D League? Exactly. So I think by you playing in college, it does two things. It makes college basketball that much more appealing and that much more entertaining. So from a fan perspective, I like that. But I think it also helps you grow and it helps you develop your talent. You know, the reverse side of that is you take the Marcus Smart situation, where he would have been a top 10 pick overall if he'd have came out last year. This past season, he went back to school, and now he's probably somewhere in the mid-20s because of the way things just kind of have gone. But I think you get a more true test of what their talent is and what they bring to the table, so it makes your NBA product that much stronger because you know what you're getting. There's not so many questions. And like I said, it helps them refine certain talents that they have or that they need to work on. So I think you need to have some type of a 2-year rule. Either that or you allow them to go straight from high school, straight into the NBA. And a lot of times what will happen is that process will work itself out where they say they want to come out of high school, they want to go into the NBA, they'll sit there, they'll get into practice, and chances are they'll end up in the D League. And what ends up happening is the D League is kind of almost like that nail in your coffin. If you go to the D League, you usually don't hear about you, and you don't really come back, and you're not like, oh, wow, this guy's great. It doesn't happen that way. So I think the cream rises to the top, and I think a 2-year stipulation on college students. If you plan to attend college, you got to stay for 2 years. I think that's the way it should be. Sticking
with the NBA, a little bit closer to home, this week Andre Drummond sparked off a firestorm. Not only did his ex-girlfriend go on a podcast and basically dish on their relationship, basically saying he was a bad kisser, that he was a little bit corny by getting on one knee and asking her to be his girlfriend. Jeanette McCurdy from the Disney Channel's iCarly, and she has another show, but I don't watch that stuff, so I don't know her.
You don't have to lie to us.
I think it's
okay.
Sam and something or other.
You know what it is.
No,
it's all right. I bet if I go check your TV out, it's DVR'd.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, we don't play that.
So now, on the flip side,
sitting in your Netflix queue.
What I did see, though, is some racy lingerie photos came out this last week, and people are like, She's like, I only sent them to one person, so how did they come out? And Andre Drummond vehemently denies that he sent it out. Cuz, what's your take on this whole situation, and who comes out looking worse, McCurdy or Andre Drummond?
I think she does. You don't hear a whole lot coming from Drummond. I know he did like a quick 6 or 7 second a Vine video or whatever, where he just basically talks about how you got to move on, and everybody's kind of correlating that to everything that she said in her podcast. So I think she does, because she came out and she basically dished on their relationship and basically put him on blast. So I think she kind of comes out and she kind of looks like she's kind of a spoiled brat, you know? Maybe a little bit slutty too with all those pictures that are floating around now. I mean, she looks good. Let's not get it twisted. But I think she comes out with the raw end of the deal here. And I think if Andre Drummond just kind of keeps his mouth shut and just kind of keeps on keeping on, I think he'll be all right.
I think it's a minor blip. It's just interesting that he's 20 years old. His first relationship is like this. And I think he can do a little bit better than McCurdy. You're a multimillionaire athlete. There's some nice ladies around town here. And if Andre Drummond needs a little bit of help, he could spend a night with DocNJock, and we'll show him a good time and where all the fine ladies are in Dearborn, in Farmington, in Rochester, in Birmingham. We'll take him to a couple nice places and show him where the nice ladies are at that don't kiss and tell. That's it for sure. You got to find ladies that don't kiss and tell. She called him corny, but what are you going to do? But it's a young situation.
He's 20, man. You remember 20. When you were 20, you did stupid stuff too. So.
Exactly. So hopefully this will be a blip in the radar. All right. Question number 3. Well, looks like our talk last week came to fruition. The Red Wings made one move. We got David Legwand in a trade apparently for Patrick Eaves and a conditional draft pick, and as well as a third-round pick.
It was a conditional third, and we sent a young prospect.
Exactly. So, what is your take on the Red Wings at the trade deadline? And as well as the Red Wings, what is your take on the moves that were made in the NHL? Who do you think got the best? Who made the best deal, and who maybe got swindled?
Let's start with the NHL as a whole in this trade deadline. I thought this was one of the more exciting and more intriguing trade deadlines. There were a lot of guys moving, a lot of guys bouncing from one team to another team. I think it was Yaroslav Halak went from St. Louis to Buffalo. I think he went to Washington. So just a lot of guys bouncing around, and maybe even he went to Montreal. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to go back and look at the trade ticker. But just a lot of guys moving around, tons of talent just going everywhere. As today was going on, I'm sitting there looking at my phone, looking for updates. And I'm like, where's the Wings update? Where's the Wings update? Why aren't they moving? What's going on? Like, everybody is just in on this, and everybody's just moving guys, and just tons of talent just exchanging hands. And I didn't understand where the Wings were on this. Then it comes out at about 3:30 that they picked up David Legwand. And I was like, all right, he was on our list, but he was just kind of on our list as one of those guys. He's just kind of a guy. He's a good two-way forward, for those who don't know. He's not really a goal scorer per se. He can put the puck in the net, but he's not one of those guys who can really create his own. He's more of a grinding type player. He'd basically be a nice third-line player for us who would play some penalty kill. I was really underwhelmed by what the Wings did. I was really hoping for more. There were guys out there like Matt Molson who I thought they had a really good shot to go get. I thought the cap numbers would have matched up nicely there. There were a few other guys like a Thomas Vanek who you probably could have got cheaper than what you got David Legwand for, and he'd been a little bit more productive.
And just to give a shout out to our Twitter followers, at VHerring42269 agrees with you. He tweeted us and said Wings could have gotten Thomas Vanek for less. And in another tweet, he said that his idea was that the Wings don't even make the playoffs at all. That would be better for them not to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's just to help them recharge, just so they don't have tired legs. Because you got to remember, they've been playing in the playoffs for the last 22 years. That's a lot of miles. I don't really think that's necessarily a good thing. The only good thing about them not making the playoffs would be they get to that conditional third-round pick wouldn't move to a second-round pick. That's the stipulation on that. So it helped them keep a higher draft pick. I think they gave up quite a bit for David Legwand. So hopefully David Legwand comes here and he produces and he's solid. Like I said, I was really underwhelmed. I thought there were guys that they could have got that would have been better, that would have helped this team in a different role. I know that a lot of us wanted a defenseman, a top 4 defenseman, because that defense looks weak on the backside. So to get some type of a defenseman, I think, would have been great, or to get a higher-powered forward, because I don't think David Legwand really has the juice, and I'm going to leave it kind of at that.
Yeah, who got the worst deal?
Worst deal?
Yeah.
Probably Buffalo. I really feel like Buffalo gave up a lot, and I don't really think they got a whole ton in return, and they ended up losing basically their CEO and president when Patty LaFontaine stepped down right after the Ryan Miller trade. So I think out of everybody, I think Buffalo probably lost the most. I think getting Ryan Miller for St. Louis, I think that really makes them, you have to take them serious as a cup contender moving forward. So I'm going to say St. Louis, and I'm going to say Buffalo, and those two were involved in that trade that you swapped Steve Ott and Ryan Miller for.
All right, cuz, great job. Another great segment in Jock Jams. You always bring it, and that's why everyone looks forward to it, because they know that you are not only passionate about Detroit sports, but you know what's going on in all sports. And after the break, we're going to talk about opening day. Adam, I think, has a lot more experience going to opening day than I do, and we're going to share some great stories and
just get drunker.
Do's and don'ts for opening day. Stay tuned for opening day banter after the break. March 31st, downtown Detroit is the place to be. Everyone out there's either got the day off already or is going to try to find a way to get the day off. Now, myself personally, opening day, I'm new to the whole experience. I was the kind of guy that was like, what's the big fuss about? What's the big deal? I would go to work, kind of tune in here and there for the game. And then 2 years ago, my boss was like, man, this guy works hard. I'm going to just tell him, listen, I know he's a big sports guy. I'm just going to tell him, listen, you're taking the day off. So my boss told me to take the day off. And so I went down for the first time. My goodness.
Changed your life, huh?
I changed my life for the better. I'm not gonna lie. I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I do remember getting down on the dance floor. The doc was busting a move, having a good old time. And let's just say we got downtown at my first time. Got downtown at 9 a.m. Met up with some New York and Boston fans who were just hanging out at the bar. And the thing that I remember from that conversation was the New York guy was like, man, this place isn't the dump that everyone says it is. And everyone was like, yeah, of course. We're nice guys here. We have a good time. And then a couple of seconds later, they would say, the dump is kind of like 3 miles down that way and things like that. We got our bad areas, but the New York guy was really happy to be there and was having a good time and was like, man, this is a fun environment. This is a fun time. And so we had a good time. We got good food, the great atmosphere, but the party didn't kick off till after the game. I mean, we were drinking through the game. The game was great. I don't really recall 2 years ago what the Tigers were doing. So at that time, that experience for me, the Tigers were in the backdrop. It was party time, and we were under a tent, and the music was bumping. DJ Matt was making the party happening, and all I remember was dancing all the way from 5 p.m. till 1 a.m. when I got home. And so it was an all-day party, all-day experience.
Lasted that long?
I partied all day. I partied from 9 a.m. till 1 a.m. the next day, my first opening day experience. And let's just say it was an all-day buzz. I was feeling good. So, cause just in general, for a newbie like me, what's the tradition at opening day? What do you do around town? What's the best thing to do? Because I know where I went, and I've only gone 2 years. But what's for those out there that are new to Detroit, new to the podcast, that are gonna go down March 31st? What should they do? What's the deal?
First thing, you're a soldier. You made it to 1 a.m. You're a soldier. That doesn't happen. Most people. I don't know, my sister, for instance, the first time she went down, she sat there and she fell out I don't even think the game was over yet. She was so wasted and loaded. We just had to put her in the back of a car, and we locked the door, and then we came back a few hours later to pick her up. Then we had to take her home, and then we went back to party.
So lots of alcohol is key, number one. Lots of alcohol consumption.
What I'll do is I'll kind of run you through kind of what I do and kind of how mine starts. Usually it starts first thing in the morning. I have everybody meet up at my house because I live pretty close to downtown. So everybody meets up at my house, and I usually serve everybody breakfast. Usually kick it off. Something good, hearty, a lot of starch because you got to get a good base because you're going to be drinking all day. So sit there, feed everybody. We load up all the coolers. We sit there, we load up different cars. We usually go down there in about 3 or 4, just kind of a caravan of us. We end up going and we end up tailgating for a few hours. And when I say a few hours, I mean we're getting down there right around 9 o'clock, and we're tailgating till right around 11, 12 if the baseball game kicks off at 1. Otherwise, if it's a 4 o'clock game, we're sitting there and we're down there about 10 o'clock and we're drinking till 3. So about an hour before the game, we sit there and we start to move from our tailgate spot, and we end up going, we just kind of bar hop all the way over from where we're at to State Theater. And usually it's about 1.5 miles to walk. So while we go, we stop in at different bars, have a drink here and there, make your way all the way down, make your way in throughout the city, end up over at State Theater. And from State, you usually sit there, you watch the game, you drink. They've got hot dogs there, they've got pizza there, you got food there, so you can sit there and start to replenish, because mind you, you're now going on about 4 hours, maybe 6 hours of drinking, and you're good and polluted. and you sit there, you watch the game right around 8th inning, depending on how close that game is, because usually on opening day, if Tigers are up by a lot, you just dip out. If they're down by a lot, you dip out. We'll make our way back to the car. From the car, we usually end up going to the strip club, and we have a great time at the strip club. You got cheap beer, and you always get a free hot dog at the strip club.
Just one free hot dog?
No, you can have as many as you want.
Oh, nice.
I usually eat about 6.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that's kind of what I do. I mean, it's basically the best way I could describe opening day. It is a giant festival downtown. It is amazing. It like you said, you got to meet 2 guys from Boston and New York. It's really a coming together of everybody. You've got people from all different walks of life, from different areas. They all come down, they commingle. Everybody has a really good time, and you basically just walk through the city, walking from one end of the city to the other end of the city, watching the baseball game, listening to the baseball game.
I think 2 years ago,
with people.
I think because it was New York. I think we either played Boston or New York. I think that 2 years ago we played Boston. Mm-hmm. We played Boston 2 years ago, and that was the open. And now I remember that was the opening series where I think we won 3 of the 4 games. I believe we won a lot of the games. In one game, we came back and Alex Avila hit a monster home run at the end. I think that Sunday game. So I remember. I think it was against Boston that 2 years ago.
It's just a giant party. I encourage everyone, if it's not too late and you can get the day off, take the day off, go downtown. Hopefully we run into you. Hopefully we see you. I'm not sure if we'll be together, but if, I hope to meet up with you later on in the evening if we're not together initially. Hopefully we get to see some of these people. I mean, you guys have really no idea what we look like unless you go to our website. But I mean, maybe we'll run into you, maybe we'll see you. I encourage everyone to go down there and just check it out. It's a good time. Don't get so loaded to where you're the passed out sick guy sitting there laying on the sidewalk, but have a really good time. Get nice and just kind of slightly inebriated and just have a good time.
Do you think that if the government decides that we're going to get one more national holiday, the States has a lot of holidays spread out throughout the year. So if you're a government worker, I work in the public sector most of the time, so I don't get a chance to have all these government days off. But if you work for the government, you have a government job like in the mail department or in, any government-related job, you get a lot of days off. But they're thinking about maybe making one more for either opening day or the day after Super Bowl. Now, if we get one more national day off, would it be the day after the Super Bowl, in your opinion, or would it be opening day?
I think it would probably be the day after the Super Bowl. Me personally, I would like to see opening day as a national holiday, but I think the day after the Super Bowl would be it, just because that way you can nail it down to one day, because opening day for everybody is different. There's a lot of people that have it on that Monday, there's a lot of people who have it on that Wednesday, and a lot of people who have it on that Friday. So it's basically spread out through that whole week. So if they wanted to give us a whole week off, that'd be great. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think if they were to do it, they would make it one day, and it would probably be that Monday after Super Bowl. And that would just be for, I guess, logistics. Because you can't sit there and you can't be like, oh, well, half the country's working on, is off on Monday. The other, half is off on Wednesday. And then we've got a few other people who have the day off on Friday. It would just be kind of a mess because you'd have it basically a floating holiday for an entire week that everybody would have to take a day off for.
I got you, because baseball has different spots. So that's a good logistical point that I didn't even think about, is that different arenas or different ballparks have different days because not all the teams open up at home. So very good point. Very astute, Jock. That's a point I didn't even think about. I just thought the very basics of the concept of which day would you want. So I agree with you. I'm a kind of guy, you know what? The opening day is kind of like an alcohol fest, what it sounds like here in Detroit. And Super Bowl is
it's very special here in Detroit.
Yeah.
It's not like this everywhere.
Right, exactly.
It's very special. In Detroit, it's different.
Whereas the Super Bowl is kind of more of a food fest, where you get a whole bunch of food, you're having a good time, you're celebrating. And so I think a lot of production is lost that Monday after the Super Bowl, because a lot of people are either recapping it or are talking about it or getting stats about it or recapping the Super Bowl, whereas people take the day off usually for opening day or the next day and things like that. So I would, in general, want the day, if there's going to be just one national holiday, the day after the Super Bowl would be great, and hopefully it coincides with the Lions being there, so that would be great. First day the law is enacted is the day after the Lions get to the Super Bowl and probably lose, so we'll be all crying.
You have a story for opening day besides you having your dance off pants off dance-a-thon?
I'm gonna save that for next week.
I'm gonna save that for next week.
I just wanted this first week to get your opinion on what we should do, what it's like, if my experience was similar to yours. I'm going to go in detail next week. Stay tuned. I'll have an opening day story from last year's opening day that will be entertaining, and maybe we'll shed some more insight into how the doc gets down and has a good time. So stay tuned for next week, and we'll share some more times. We'll share a little bit more tales regarding opening day and maybe some hot spots that come about because people message us from time to time and say, hey, go here, go there, and we'll get our Twitter followers' reactions as to where to go as well. Another good podcast, cuz this was fun.
It was good. I just want everybody to know, not next week's, but the week after and the week right before opening day, you're going to want to listen to those 2 stories specifically. They're very good.
Oh, the Jock has great opening day stories, I'm sure.
Like I said, I'm drunker than everybody else. That's what the problem is.
Like I said, I'm the newbie in this situation, so I haven't done this a whole lot, but I can't wait for those stories.
Next week's will be a good one, too.
All right. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. This has been the Detroit Sports Podcast, the Doc and Jock Show. Thanks, everyone. Hooray, opening day!
He's just kind of a guy.
None of these guys do it for me.
My life sucks. I have an issue with my penis. It's not that hard. Might as well just come punch me in the dick right now.
Oh, we don't play that.